Hello, and welcome to my presentation of server virtualization and disk-based backups. Today we're going to discuss how both of these technologies will forever change the way information technology deals with disasters. We'll also be looking at how both of these technologies can save you time and money. Let's first talk about what exactly server virtualization is. Server virtualization, at its simplest, is taking many physical machines and consolidating them down into one physical machine, otherwise known as a physical host. With two or more physical hosts, you can create what's considered a virtual cluster. A virtual cluster uses what's called centralized storage or shared storage. This allows your virtual machines, your old physical systems, to run between any of the two or more physical hosts as seen in the picture here. A clustered setup gives your data center the optimal amount of flexibility. Tasks that traditionally require servers to be down in order to perform can now be performed without any server downtime. This is due to the flexibility allowed by migrating virtual machines off of a physical host to then be able to down the physical host to perform maintenance without interrupting any of the virtual machine's performance. Next, let's talk about disk-based backups. IT shops have traditionally used magnetic tape backup solutions. Disk-based backups use hard drives instead of tapes. Tape solutions work great and are very cost efficient. When it comes to disaster recovery though, they do require to be physically transported to the disaster recovery location. These costs can add up quite quickly. Disk backup solutions may cost more upfront but offer a lot of options to choose from, including data deduplication, which we'll talk more about in the next slide, as well as nightly site replication. What is data deduplication? Data deduplication works like this. Let's say you have 3 servers, and they're all running the same operating system. Each one of these servers is going to have a fair amount of commonality in between them. But let's use an example. Let's take a README file for example. This README file is exactly the same in every way on every operating system it's running. When we run a backup of these files, the first time the file is copied down, it's going to be written to disk. Each subsequent write will actually be a validation that the files are exactly the same and will create a pointer instead of writing the file to disk. Now with the README file, this may be not very much for savings of space, but when you get to larger file size and executables and system files, the savings can really start to add up. Using tape-based solutions with this same scenario would require to have every single one of those files, whether they're common or not, written to tape. What are the disaster recovery benefits? Let's take a look at another scenario. In this example, your business has a site in LA and another site in New York. Both of these sites back up nightly and also replicate their data to each other nightly as well. In the event of a catastrophic disaster, let's say the big earthquake hits LA, all of your data is in the New York data center. This allows you to restore your virtual machines into your already established virtual environment in a matter of hours. Another more frequent disaster that hits data centers is the physical failure of a server. When this occurs, the other physical hosts in the cluster will start the VMs that were once running on the failed server. The end result of this is that all of your functional servers are back up and running in a matter of minutes as opposed to hours or days. What are the cost savings? As we already know, server virtualization will reduce the amount of physical servers in your data center significantly. A common life cycle for a physical server is around 4 years. While physical hosts may cost more due to expanded memory and CPU needs, the cost over a period of 5 years is still much lower than if we didn't go virtual. This is represented in the chart below. Most data centers will see up to a 15-to-1 ratio of physical server reduction after virtualizing their servers. When looking at Windows Server licensing costs, there are even more savings to be had. While Windows Server Data Center license costs more individually than the server standard, in a virtual environment, you can leverage the ability to run only one license per physical CPU on the host. The chart below shows the savings of running 20 VMs on 2 physical hosts. The real key to the data center licensing is that you can run unlimited virtual machines running Windows operating systems. This allows new servers to be added to the data center with minimal cost. Last but not least, let's talk about what the power and cooling savings are. As more and more companies begin green initiatives, reducing the physical count of servers can help achieve those goals. Studies have shown that power is costing roughly 50 cents for every dollar spent in capital spending. This makes a typical 2 CPU server cost around $589 annually in electricity costs. With a large reduction in server count, data centers are able to start exploring alternate cooling methods such as heating exchangers or liquid cooling. To give perspective to the real impact of powering servers, a carbon footprint study was recently conducted and determined that powering off 100 2 CPU servers is equivalent to removing 122 cars off of the road. In this chart, we can see the annual savings that we are expecting to see after virtualizing 30 servers and running only 2 physical hosts. I hope you found this presentation to be both interesting and insightful. Teaming server virtualization with disk-based backups will not only save you money, but will also make disaster recovery a smooth and quick operation. Thank you for your time and have a great holiday season.